You are watching NetSoft IT Academy. 905-812-2923. info@netsoftacademy.com. www.netsoftacademy.com.
Okay, so now let's start with scenario number 4. Scenario number 4 works on the same idea as scenario number 3. In fact, it is the same exact scenario, except for the fact that now instead of one workstation, we'll be using two workstations. And on both the workstations, we'll try to use the native Outlook app. So first, let's get started with creating the domain controller. So remember, these are all just pre-configured machines, but they don't have anything installed in them. These are all just configured. That's it. So I just don't have to worry about installing VMware tools or renaming the machines or doing anything. All of that is done. All of that I do beforehand, before I start the scenario here. So first things first, I'll change the IP address. Now remember, again, this is all working on local IP addresses or local network. So you don't need an internet connection. You can just do it on a LAN connection. 172.16.10.10. 16.10.1 is my gateway. My preferred DNS server is going to be 172.16.10.10. Now, one of the major questions that a lot of us have is, can we change the IP address after the domain controller promotion is done? The answer for that is yes, but it does add a little bit of complexity to your process. So ideally, I do not recommend those things. It is a good idea to not do it like that. You should have all of your IP addresses, device names, everything set up beforehand. That is also another question. Can I change the name of my domain controller after? Can I change the name of my domain controller after I have already deployed it? It's already a domain controller. Everything is done. The answer is yes, you can do it. But another way of looking at it is, should you be doing it at that time? Because it can cause potential issues. So those are all the things that do happen in real life environments, wherein it is a good practice to get your basics sorted out first before you start doing anything. So let me quickly go back to my dashboard, add roles and features, 3 next, then I select Active Directory Domain Services, add features, and 3 next, and install. Now this process is pretty much standard. We don't change anything here. Now as for a domain name, you can either use netsoftakademy.com or nita.com or netsoft.com. You can use any of those 3 things. Either of these work. I'm going to stick with NetSoft Academy as long as I have a single forest deployment. Okay, now I'll wait for this installation to complete. You can see that it works fast. This part works fast. It doesn't slow. But if you do not give it adequate resources, everything will feel slow. So make sure that you are factoring your resources. Now, one rule of thumb that you should always remember is your host operating system needs 8 gigabytes. Then anything on top, for every other VM, if you give 4 and 4 and 4, you would need as much as 32 gigabytes. So that is one thing. So don't be indiscriminate with your RAM allocation and your storage allocation as well. So I'm going to go for the name netsoft.com, or let's say netsoftakademy.com. As I mentioned earlier, I would be using the same name for all my single forest deployments. So to be completely even, so that it doesn't look out of the ordinary for everyone. Now, another question that you might have is, why do we enter the DSRM password? The DSRM password is for recovering from any type of forest or schema changes. It is important. It is for directory services restoration. So you do need to have it. You cannot skip past it. So do not take it lightly. Do not enter any random password that you think of. Enter the password that makes the most amount of sense. Okay, the prerequisite checks are happening here. And then once this is done, we'll be able to click on install. And once I say install, my domain control or my virtual machine here will restart. So I'll wait for this machine to restart. And once it is promoted as a domain controller, we'll move on to the next steps. So now my domain controller has restarted. I'm going to log in here, and yes, one thing that sometimes even I, as an instructor or somebody who has been working in the IT industry for a long time, makes a mistake in when setting up your domain controllers or something like that is generally the names. The domain names you always double check for typos, because a small typo could lead to your entire deployment just crashing or going in a different direction. Now, not just in testing environments, even in real life environments, that does happen wherein name mismatch does occur. It is a very common occurrence. So please keep an eye out for that. I go to the local server first. Because I've been doing this for a while, I'm going to repeat the same sequence of steps that I always do, wherein I double check my IP addresses and correct the loop back to fit in where I want it to fit in. Okay. Disable and enable. Now, I'm not adding any users here right now. The users will be adding once we are done with the exchange part. The only thing I'll do here is add an OU so that I have a location where the users can be deployed easily. So I go to tools, Active Directory users and computers. I click on OU, add an OU, and my OU name will again be Toronto. Yep, and that's it. This is it. I'm not doing anything else on the domain controller. So now we move on to the next part, and that is Exchange Server prerequisite installation. So let me go to the next server. Again, remember, these are all machines that are just pre-configured. There's nothing installed on them. These are just Windows Server machines. So let me just start up the machine. Once the machine is started, I'll domain join, change the IP address first and domain join the machine. So here we go. You can see that this is a standalone machine. Now we make this into a domain join machine, not a domain controller. I was just about to say domain controller, do not take it for that. We only have one domain controller. We don't need more than one anyway. So I'll just change the IP address here. Here the IP address now will be 172.16.10.20. Now this is a good practice always to double check your IP addresses to make sure everything is working, to always be on top of this rather than trying to figure out the problem later on. So if I did not do what I did right now, I could end up having a problem. But I just did what I needed to and now I'm good. At least I don't have to worry about things until later on. That is the idea. So once this machine restarts, after joining the domain, we will start with the Exchange Server prerequisite installation with the first command set. Now, like I mentioned earlier, it is a good idea to always have your commands on a notepad somewhere accessible where you can just copy and paste them without any issues. And that is one of the reasons why VMware tools are very important. If you do not install VMware tools, you would not be able to copy and paste and you would have to very awkwardly type in these commands. So I'm going to copy this first command here, install Windows feature command. Now, once this machine starts up, I'll log in as the enterprise admin. Remember, I'm logging in as the enterprise admin, not as the local admin of the device. So here we go. Other user, administrator at netsoftakademy.com. This should work, correct? Because it is the same thing. NetSoft Academy /administrator or administrator at netsoftakademy.com. Both of them are the same methods of logging in. One is just newer, the other is a little bit older. That's the only difference here. Now, I don't really need to check anything here. I'll just open PowerShell. Open PowerShell and paste the command that I have here. Now, this is one of those things that happens when the VMware tools are still loading up in the background. So not a problem. It's just a small thing. It's a small glitch. That's how I would put it. So I'll wait for this command to complete and then I'll restart the computer and then get started on installing the prerequisites. So as you can see, the command is complete. Now I'm going to restart the computer. Now earlier, I did not restart the computer like this. I did it manually because I wanted to increase the RAM and do all of that. But this is another way of doing it. This is the more, let's just say, sequential way of doing it. So we'll let it restart, and once it restarts, we'll start with installing the prerequisites that are necessary, the software prerequisites. Okay, so my virtual machine has restarted. Now, first things I'm going to mount the Microsoft 365 Hybrid Deployments ISO, the one that contains all the softwares that are required for the prerequisite installation. So right here, because I have been using them for a while, I'll find them right here. Okay. Now you will have to, you might have to browse and find where you have stored the ISO file. I don't, I already have all of them in the same location, so it makes more sense for me to do it like this. I'll go to my file explorer, click on DVD drive D here, and I'll first start with Java JRE version 8 update 341. Now I'm not installing the .NET framework anymore because we already know that I don't need it. This is the Visual C++ 2013. So you can see I've installed that. I'm going to install the Microsoft Unified Communications API, managed API. Read the terms, install. Now, one thing you might have realized that I started Java first, but it's still not here. And that is a very common theme with this Java installation. You might have to wait a little bit of time for that. So I'm going to continue with the other installation, that is the IIS URL rewrite module. Now remember, unless and until you have all of the other Windows features set up, this will not install properly, and if it is not installed properly, you will have issues during your setup process. I generally recommend making sure that you run the commands once, twice if you're not confident if the entire process, the installation was completed successfully or not, if there was an error or something, and only then try and install this and only then move on to the next steps. You can see that Java came in right now at the very end of this entire sequence, but that's okay. Now, I'll wait for the Java to complete installation, and after it is done, we'll move on to the next step, that is connecting the Exchange Server 2019 CU14 ISO to our domain controller and preparing our schema, preparing our Active Directory, and preparing all the domains in our Active Directory before we start the Exchange Server installation. So let's wait for this to complete here. Okay, so when the screen is gone, you automatically assume that Java is installed. So it shouldn't be a problem. So I'm going to go to my ADDS01 here. And on ADDS01, I'm going to mount the Exchange Server 2019 ISO here now. CU14 ISO. Okay, it's mounted. I just need to find the drive letter here. So it's on drive D. Okay, I go click on Tools, open Windows PowerShell, open Windows PowerShell. Okay, let me keep it like this so that it is visible. Now, first command is D:, enter. So now I'm in the D drive. Now I'm going to copy these commands from here, the prepare schema command first. And I'm going to run this command. Now I'll wait for it to complete successfully. And remember, we are going to run these commands every single time as a part of the prerequisites whenever we are installing a new Exchange server or we are adding an Exchange server to the forest right now, to the domain right now. So we'll wait for it to complete. So my first prepare schema command has been completed successfully. Now I'm going to run the next command, that is prepare Active Directory. Now when I run this will make sure that no Exchange server older than Windows Server 2019 will be present in my environment. So every other server that is older than that will not be allowed in anymore. So I cannot install a older Exchange server here anymore. It will first check if I have one. If I don't, it will not allow a new one to be set up here. So once I run this, you can see that it is again going through the same exact sequence of steps here. So I'll let this complete and I'll show you the message that we were discussing about earlier. Now you can see this here, that this is the message that I was speaking about earlier, where the setup will prepare the organization for Exchange Server 2019 by using the setup. No Exchange Server 2016 roles have been detected in this topology. After this operation, you'll not be able to install any Exchange Server 2016 roles. So this is what I was mentioning about earlier, that once you do this, there's no way of going back. So I'm just going to clear this for now right here, and I'm going to run the third and final command, that is prepare all domains. Now I only have one domain, so not a big problem. But if you have more than one domain, then you need to run this on the root domain controller, or on the domain controller of the root domain, the parent domain, root domain, whichever one it is, you need to run it on that. And you have to run this every single time you do a Exchange server installation. Now you might be thinking that's a little bit extreme. What happens exactly? So the Exchange server can do this, all of this on its own. It can install all of this on its own, but then again, because you are logging in as the enterprise admin, you have the privileges, you can do it. It doesn't have the right roles and features enabled on that server to allow all of these tasks to be done. That is why we do not want to do it through that. That is why we want to do it separately here. So we'll wait for this command to complete, and once this is done, we'll start with the Exchange server installation. And you can see that this is working a whole lot faster now, because the previous two commands took time because of their because of the nature. This command is easier to run. And here you can see that the Exchange server setup operation is completed successfully. Now that's it on the domain controller. I'm not going to touch domain controller again, but I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to do this on all the machines now. I'm going to make sure that they don't go to sleep, because I don't want the sleep problem to be here or get in my way when I'm trying to do something. So going back to my MBXS01 here, I'm going to mount the Exchange Server 2019 CU14 ISO here, and I'm just going to run the setup from autoplay directly. Now, if you don't get autoplay, I think I mentioned earlier how you can get to autoplay. You can just go to File Explorer, go to this PC, right click and install or run program. If you don't see that, click on open, scroll all the way to the bottom and you will find the setup file. You can run the setup file and that can get the work done for you as well. All right. So this is my Exchange server setup right here. Don't check for updates right now. Now the Java scheduler, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Next. Now this is one of the slower processes here. You will need to take some patience, and you can take a walk while this is happening. You can go to gym and do a workout while the Exchange server is installing. Just make sure to always keep coming back and take a look at it. So take your laptop with you when you are going to the gym. That was a joke. That was a joke. Don't do that. It's not a good idea. Moving around and having power fluctuations is far worse than actually not letting it work. Okay, so I'll wait for this entire process, the first screens to come up and go, and then we will look at the next steps. Now you can see that this is my introduction page here. Next, I accept the terms and the license agreement and will share diagnostic data with Microsoft, which is the recommended option. We don't have internet, so diagnostic data is not going to get shared anyway. Next, use the recommended settings. Next, here we are going to select the mailbox role. Now this is one of the things that is different than Exchange Server 2016 or Exchange Server 2013 or Exchange Server 2010 is the number of roles that are here now. As of Exchange Server 2019, Microsoft has reduced the number of roles from 5 roles in Exchange Server 2013 to 3 roles here. Now management tools is 1 role, obviously as you can see it. Edge transport is another role, and mailbox role is the other role. Now earlier in the previous version, 2016 at least, we had another role called client access server or a CAS server. Client access server, it would be the front end facing server. So that was one of those things there. Okay, mailbox role next. Next. Yes, disable malware scanning. Because we are running a test environment, it's okay, we can do this. Otherwise, if we said no, then it would try to download the latest anti-malware engine and definition updates from right, as you can see them right here. And it would create a new, let's just say, a new challenge for you because of the requirements that would be necessary now. All right, so you should see a warning. If you see anything other than the warning, it is a good idea to go back and revisit all of your prerequisite installations. Even if one thing is missing, even something as simple as a small restart is missing, it could create a chaotic situation for you. So I'm going to click on install, and now I'll wait for the installation process to complete, and then we'll move on to the next steps. So now at this point, my Exchange server has completed installation. I'm going to finish it here. I'll go to start, click on Exchange Management Shell. Now this is just so that I know that the services are running and everything is connected properly. Now you see this implicit remote module and everything. We want this to be done, and we want it to, the status change from connecting to Nita MBX01 to connected, like it says over here. Now, get dash mailbox server. Okay, so this is our mailbox server. So let me also type in one more, get dash mail user. I don't have any mail users. Now we can add mailbox users from here via command, or we could do it over the GUI. I prefer using the GUI than the CLI. The CLI is only for finding data or doing advanced tasks. So I open my Edge browser here. You can see that it takes a little bit of time the first time around, but it is what it is. I'm going to create a new in private window and paste a link here. /ECP/. ECP stands for Exchange Control Panel, and you can see that I'm right here. So NetSoft Academy / administrator password 1350. Now, because my Exchange server is installed or the Exchange services are running, my next step is to create Exchange mailbox users, and I'm going to create the users directly from the Exchange Admin Center here. Now this will keep happening a few times, but all you need to do is just go back, and just sign in again, and it would resolve your issue right away. See? Okay. Now I'm going to first click on new and select user mailbox. Now right here, if you notice, I have the option of using an existing user or a new user. I don't have an existing user. So I'll select a new user. For the display name, I'm going to use the name Paris Hilton. The name would be Paris Hilton again. Now, organizational unit, remember we created the Toronto organizational unit. I'm going to select that just so that I have a OU that where all of my users can be stored in. Okay. Logon name P Hilton at netsoftakademy.com. Password 1350. Confirm the password again. And you see this option here, require password change on next logon. This is basically if we create the user like this, the password never expires. That's the idea here. Click on save. And there you have Paris Hilton. I'm going to add another user, Megan Fox, the same way. I'm going to add the next user the same way as well. Megan Fox. Megan Fox. OU will be Toronto. M Fox. Password 1350. And yes, you have to make sure that you're not hitting tab and you're actually navigating with the help of the mouse, because you hit tab, it automatically goes on to this part here and save. So these are my two users here now. This is how you create the users on the Exchange Admin Center. But the next question is, do these users show up on your on-premises Active Directory on the ADDS? So let me quickly open up the server manager here. Click on Tools, Active Directory Users and Computers, expand Active Directory Users and Computers, Toronto, and you can see that I have both the users here. So it's a very let's just say interdependent or very well organized process. Okay. So now one more thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to paste this and I'm going to say OOWA/. OOWA takes me to Outlook on the web or Outlook web access. OOW or OWA. Both of these are the right terms for this. Now, again, you can see that it just tries to keep rotating there because it is still being provisioned in the background. So not a problem. It's not really a problem. I could just have a different take on it, but it's okay. It's okay. It doesn't really matter that much. So I'll just wait for it to work out completely and then try again. But this is where we need to go next. Okay, so now let's move on to the next part. The next part is very simple. I domain join my workstations and I log in as the user. I set up the mail application or the Outlook application or use the OOW application and send an email and verify if I can receive and see the emails on both the users. So this is workstation 1. Now remember, these are all just pre-configured virtual machines. They have no existing settings. They only have VMware tools installed. The name has been changed, and that's it. The IP address, everything else stands. So on this virtual machine, while we are here, if you so wish to, you could actually install Google Chrome on this virtual machine right now. So let me log in, password 1350. And this will take a second though, because the options and the settings are a little bit relaxed. I can go here. And I could just create a new in private window, navigate to google.com. Now you can see that this is a machine that connects to the internet. Because it is on NAT, I have not made it a static IP address yet. And I can download Google Chrome. Can download Google Chrome right now and install it while I'm here. I don't want it is not that big of a problem. You can see the file is here. I'm going to install it right now. Why fight with Edge when I could have the latest Google Chrome? So you can see, and that too without relying on the administrator or any other such setting. Okay, confirm and continue. Now I'm just doing this because I just need to make sure that I can close it successfully. And you can see that Google Chrome is being downloaded at the moment. And I also have the exe file here. So for the next one, I could just copy this exe file and paste it on the next workstation and just make do with it. All right, so I'll wait for this to complete installation. Once it is installed, then I will do the domain join part, and then we will move on to the next step. So at this point, my Google Chrome has been installed, but I'm also going to add one extra step here. So earlier we used to have this application called Windows Mail, which got discontinued last year on December 31st, 2024. And Microsoft has been, if you get a new ISO or a newer ISO, and you would find that that mail application no longer exists. So Microsoft has a different application for this. So it's called Outlook for Windows. It is a standalone app that you can download. And if I click on open for this, this is exactly how it would be here. Now I'll just select, let us say, just once for now. And it will just take me here to sign in and just get, you can see this. This is all the product family and everything. It will ask me to sign in. But I could also update this application right here because it's already installed, pre-installed for me, and make do with it. Now, in case you're not able to get this to work, what is the next best option? The next best option is, personally, just use the Outlook on the web. As you can see here right now, I can select my own accounts, I can do more, I can just set up whatever I need to, but as I want to. So I've updated this application here, and I'm going to use this application for my ActiveSync, for my Exchange. So now I'm going to move on to the next step here, and that is domain joining. So first I'll go to ncpa.cpl, I'll change my IP address to 172.16.10.30. My preferred DNS is 172.16.10.10. Okay, so my IP address is changed. Then I'll go to my settings, scroll all the way down in the system segment, click on About, click on Domain or Workgroup, change domain, netsoftakademy.com, administrator, then password. Okay, so now this computer is a part of the administrator segment here. So I'm going to restart this computer right now. And once this computer restarts, I'll log in as Megan Fox or Paris Hilton to just check if I'm able to log in as a domain user and then work on setting up the Outlook application for my own computer here as that user. So we'll wait for it to restart. Okay, so I'm logging in as Megan Fox here, using the password 1350, so that you can see this here. And you can see that even though I created the user on the Exchange Admin Center and the user got created on the Active Directory, you are still able to log in as a normal domain user. And that is the biggest advantage of Exchange on-premises. It's the fact that it works very well with your on-premises ADDS. And that is a good thing for us because this makes life a little bit easier in terms of user creation, user assignment, permissions, policies, everything else. All right, so this is my applications here. So I'll click on start, click on all, and I'll scroll down a little bit till I can find the Outlook app. Now you can see that a few of these apps are trying to get connected. They'll not get connected to the internet, so they'll not get updated. That's one thing. That is why I did the connection earlier before I did what I had to do. You can see it's not connected to the internet anymore. So that will create one of the challenges for you. It's okay. And you can also see this could not be established. I'll have to connect to login. So if this kind of problem occurs, we just go log in to the Outlook on the web application. So we go to HTTPS, colon, no, wait, need to close that window and get back to this one. So neta mbxs01 dot netsoft academy.com/owa/ advanced, continue, and you can see that we are here. All right, so NetSoft Academy /mfox, password 1350, and sign in. I need to select my time zone. Now remember that entire time zone thing that kept on revolving in that loop. It is just a small glitch. It isn't anything major. But this is my Outlook. This is my mailbox. This is how I can access my mail application. So I can click on new and I can send an email to Paris Hilton, CC the email to administrator, and this will be my email subject, test email. This is a test email to verify mail flow between users on a on-prem Exchange ADDS environment. Please respond to this email to verify and confirm delivery. Thanks. And I click on send. You can see that the email is here in my drafts for a second and now it has moved into my sent item. So that means that mail flow is working, which is a very good thing. Okay, so now this is, I've sent the email. Now I'll log on, I'll move on to my next workstation, neta wkst02. Same deal again, this machine is also just configured with just the basics. But this time I'll not focus on the application. Instead, I'll focus more on making sure that I can access the email on the browser at least and make sure everything is working properly. It's just Microsoft's ever-changing policy that is a issue here. It's nothing more than that, quite honestly. Now, you might be tempted to think, why did I use Edge instead of Google Chrome? The honest answer is, I just did not realize I had Chrome here. I just went with Edge because I'm used to Edge. But this time I'll do the other way around so that you can understand what exactly is happening here. Now, one thing, remember I mentioned that I could just copy the ISO file or the exe file from the downloads where I would not need to download it again anywhere. But you see, it's not here. It was on the administrator portal there. So let's see if I actually have it copied here. If not, then we can just download it again. It's a 10 MB file. It's nothing major. So I don't have it here. It's okay. It's not a problem. Or I could just continue with this. It's just a matter of preference. So I'm going to continue with this instead of putting some time into it. Yes, one of the things that is here, you can see that my network adapter doesn't seem to be available. It could just be a small glitch. Let me quickly check on it. Yep. As you can see, my wired connection is coming up here. So let me quickly, it is connected to the internet at the moment. Properties. .40. Because the earlier one was 30, this will be 40. 10.1 will be my gateway, 172.16. 10.10 will be my IP address for the DNS server. Properties. Change domain or work group, change domain. NetSoftAcademy.com, administrator, password 1350. Okay, so now this computer will restart. Now I'll restart this computer quickly and then I'll log in as Paris Hilton, and then we'll see if we can access the emails or not. Okay, so I'm now going to log in as P Hilton, password 1350, and you can see that I'm logging in as Paris Hilton. Now everything is being set up for me. I'll wait for a second to see if everything is ready, and once it is done, we'll just quickly navigate to the browser, and through the browser navigate to the Outlook application or OWA application, or the Outlook web app as it's also called, or Outlook web access, however you want to call it, and then just see what exactly is happening here. So I'm going to right click and new in private window, quite honestly because I just want to avoid the entire process. Nita mbxs01.netsoftakademy.com/OWA/ advanced, continue. /P Hilton, password 1350. Now time zone again, Eastern time, save, and I can see that the email is already here. This is perfect. So I'm going to reply all. Email received. This confirms mail flow between users, and I click on send, and you can see that it's already in my sent items. Everything is being sent, everything is being here. Now one last thing that I would like to check is on my administrator's mailbox. Let me just quickly copy this part, because I'm just going to replace the ECP with OW at the end. You can see that it will just keep looping over here for a second. It's more of a glitch than anything else, but you see, I have received both the emails as the administrator, and that confirms mail flow between the users, and that also concludes our scenario here. So there was nothing new in this scenario. We just added 2 users. We just saw what are the constraints here and how we can get around them, and that was that. But the next scenario is going to be a little bit more challenging with an additional Exchange server in the mix, and more information that will follow in the next scenario. So stay tuned. Thank you.
Thank you for watching NetSoft IT Academy. 905-812-2923. Info@netsoftakademy.com. www.netsoftacademy.com.